All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
And good evening, everybody. My name is Rich Daniels. I'm here with my partner, Joe Traub, and we are having so much fun. This is our first time for a Hardball Life here on the All Sports All Play Network. I'm having a good time already. I'm just so fired up with all this stuff, and we're going to get to what we're doing now. But first, let's just tell you what you're dealing with here. We're going to be a little bit of a different kind of show. Tonight, we're just introducing ourselves, letting everybody know what's going on with us, and then we're going to get to in the future, as we go to every Sunday night, we're going to be looking for to get guests on, be able to talk about the inside, how baseball works, all the different things that goes on, plus the regular baseball talk that you're really worried about and concerned with, so everything. But again, my name's Rich Daniels. I've got almost a decade working in minor league baseball. I work, press box or some statistician kind of stuff, having a good time. I've been working in and around baseball for most of my life, which, as you can probably tell, is a long time. But anyway, we're looking to be able to take our experience, like what I have, and be able to transfer it to you. My partner, Joe Traub, is here. Joe's got a long history of his own in baseball, especially in minor league baseball. Although he doesn't look it, he does have a long time in. Doesn't look like you could have a long time in anything, Joe.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Rich. As it was a pleasure to get to know you first a long time ago, as we were both working in the press box, as you mentioned, for the Albuquerque Isotopes. And since then, I've kind of bounced around, worked for a couple other lower-level minor league teams, also did some broadcasting in the Collegiate Summer League. Last season, 2020, I had been scheduled to work for the Biloxi Shuckers, which, of course, I did for 6 months out of the year. They're the Milwaukee Brewers AA affiliate. But the problem is everyone knows by now, there wasn't a single minor league game played in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But, it was still a good opportunity to get to go down there and work for the team and be doing all sorts of different things that I ever thought I'd be doing. We all had to improvise in the year 2020. So it was good. It was a lot of fun, even though we didn't end up playing. Still kind of working on what that next step's going to be for right now, but keeping myself busy, staying tuned to a lot of baseball content. We got spring training going now. Really, I'm just glad baseball's back. These last 12 months have been rough for the industry at times. There's been a lot of bickering, a lot of talks about money, but really, I'm just looking to set all that aside. I'm just looking to enjoy whatever baseball we do have in 2021, majors, minors, college, you name it. And yeah, it's just a beautiful thing and can really be a good starting point for this country to get back on their feet. So I'm thinking baseball in 2021 is going to be a really positive thing.
Amen, my friend. What do we got on for tonight?
Well, we're going to be discussing a few things here as, spring training got underway with pitchers and catchers reporting about 3 weeks ago. And, well, obviously, when you look at baseball, pitching comes first. And, a lot of offseason moves were made. And definitely some teams have made moves to shore up their starting rotations. And we're each going to look at and hopefully narrow down our top 5 personal starting rotations heading into the 2021 season.
All right. You started off, my man. You go ahead.
I start, huh? No pressure.
No, none at all. No pressure at all.
So what you got to start off with here, and this is tough because I went down the list, and you just look at some of the moves made, like the acquisitions by the Padres and the White Sox and so on and so forth. But really, the Los Angeles Dodgers still have to top that list. I mean, when you consider what they did in 2020, without 2 guys that are on this list now in the current starting rotation, it's just going to mean they're that much more feared heading into 2021. And, obviously listeners and whoever can kind of debate the rankings and kind of list their own. I mean, that's what we do. That's why we talk baseball. Nobody's right or wrong here. It's all about speculating and thinking what's going to work best. But I am going to lead off. I think the Dodgers will be the most feared pitching staff coming into 2021. I mean, you look at Walker Buehler. Walker, just a big game pitcher. He's done it so many years, a few postseasons in a row for the Dodgers, and really he's taken the place of Clayton Kershaw as a staff ace. And that's not to say Clayton Kershaw is not an ace, because he still is. And I think in October he did answer a lot of questions of doubts about whether he could do it on the big stage. But right now for the Dodgers, it's got to be Buehler number one, Kershaw number two. And the Dodgers made yet another big signing. They got Trevor Bauer. It was much debated about where Bauer was going to end up this offseason. You know, there was thought that the Reds might re-sign him following that Cy Young campaign. And we just kind of didn't know. But as the winter went on, it was kind of looking more and more like LA. And that's indeed what happened. So Trevor Bauer is now in Los Angeles as the number 3 starting pitcher for the Dodgers. So, I mean, that's pretty good right there. You look at Buehler, Kershaw, and Bauer. That's the top 3. And you go to number 4, and a guy who was with the Dodgers, he was acquired from the Red Sox as part of the Mookie Betts trade, but he didn't pitch in a game in 2020 due to COVID-19. I think rightfully so. He decided to opt out, just crazy circumstances, wanted to spend time with his family. But David Price has said that he's going to pitch this year, and he's really looking forward to it. Looking forward to him making his debut in a Dodgers uniform in spring training some point in the near future. So David Price, another former Cy Young Award winner, the left-hander. You think about it, how stacked that rotation is. That he's going to be, David Price is the number 4 starter in a rotation. That's just astonishing. So how do you like that? The top 4?
Those top 4, are just half of the story, because you've got some just talented young guys that are standing there waiting. They want their opportunity. You've got Julio Urias, you've got May, and you've got Gonsolin. You got those 3 young guys, right?
For sure.
There's got to be about 25 teams in Major League Baseball that would love to have any one of them. And the Dodgers are sitting there trying to figure out, how are we going to get these guys innings? Because they've got the 4 veterans that are out there in front, and those guys are going to get their innings. Those guys are going to play and they're going to pitch. No problem there. But it's the young guys. It's the Derek May. It's Urias. I mean, Urias was the guy who finished the series clincher for the Dodgers. And there's a slight possibility he might not even be in the rotation this year, which is incredible when you think about it, because that kid is so talented. Just as good as they come, right? And then Tony Gonsolin, that guy's got to feel like the redheaded stepchild of the Dodgers, because all he does is get the opportunity and pitch well when he gets it. And then what do? They keep bringing in these other guys. They trade for David Price. They signed Trevor Bauer. I mean, for crying out loud, this guy's spending his first few years in the big leagues as insurance, basically, for them, and making spot starts and doing long relief, which back in the old days, that's how it used to be done. But these days, you usually don't find this kind of depth. You don't find a team with 7 guys that could walk out there and start every 5th day. So not only the quality of the Dodgers, but it's the depth that the Dodgers have as well. There's nobody that can touch them as far as their quality and depth combination when it comes down to it. They're my number 1 as well.
Yeah, it's a really rare commodity when you consider just the top 4 are essentially 3 Cy Young winners, plus a guy named Walker Buehler, who's pretty darn good. But then, as you mentioned, Rich, Urias, Gonsolin, and May. Decisions are going to have to be made there in spring training. And right now, just as I projected, I think it's going to be a combination of Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin in that 5th spot, with Urias probably starting out in the bullpen, like we saw in Game 5, Game 7 of the NLCS, and other spots in the postseason and World Series too. It was Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin trading off either a starting role, or one would start, one would be the opener, the other would come in out of the bullpen. So
yeah, there you go.
Fireball.
There you go. There's your last spot in the rotation. They each go 3 innings one night. But I gotta say, it'll be interesting to see what happens this year with that, because Trevor Bauer coming into the Dodgers now, there's a guy who stirred up a lot of stuff with some other players, with some teams and everything like that. Okay, he pretty much controversy follows this guy because he's a lightning rod kind of player. Personally, I think he was cheating last year. Nobody pitches like that out of their mind, not even close to what he was doing before without doing it. And that, it's got to be that sticky substance that he was able to find. He's consulted chemical engineers about it before. He's been outspoken about other guys cheating. And then finally, it just looked like, especially after his trade to Cincinnati, when he melted down that second half of the year, he threw like 56 innings and gave up 42 earned runs or something. Just crazy after he was traded from Cleveland to Cincinnati. Excuse me. And all of a sudden last year, he's unhittable. All of a sudden, nobody can touch him. All right. He's not on pure air. Okay. And the question is, will he continue to do it? Or is he going to take those 2 years off, the $85 million he's going to get over 2 years and just cruise? You never know with this guy. So he's the one real wild card in that rotation, the one that could really mess things up. And unless he's injured, they're going to have to put him out there every fifth day.
Yeah, certainly questions arise like that when you look at performance difference from year to year rather than just improvement overall. And there are some questions about Bauer's character, obviously, as well. And I think deservedly so. The guy has shown it several times. He still needs to mature and he still needs to act like an adult. And, hopefully being there in LA, they're going to be able to talk some sense into him and kind of stop some of these off-field antics that, quite frankly, he really doesn't need to be doing and makes him look like a fool at times. But there is hope, and everybody, I think, deserves a second chance, especially when you join a new organization. So it's going to be interesting, not just for Dodger fans, but really for the whole baseball world to see how he continues to progress on the field and how he kind of improves some of these crazy things off the field.
Yeah, it's just you never. You might have just take the dice, roll them every night. What you're going to get with him, because is he going to blow up on social media? Who is he going to target on social media this time? Or what is he going to do? He's already talking trash to the other teams, especially the Padres. His little deal yesterday with pitching with one eye closed. I thought that was nice, and he struck somebody out, pointed out, I only had one eye open, that kind of thing. It may be good for the rivalry, which I think is a great thing for baseball if you have a rivalry between LA and San Diego. But when is he going to go too far? When is he going to do something that is absolutely damaging to everything? So that's another aspect that you really want to watch with the Dodgers. As well as the fact that they're the most talented team out there. They're defending World Series champions, and they're there to answer all the critics. When it comes down to everybody saying, well, there was a short season, you can't call it a real World Series. Well, personally, all 30 teams were on the field last year. All 30 teams had a shot, and the Dodgers are the last one standing. So to me, they're the World Series champions. They're legit, and it's going to be a nice year to defend because, man, $243 million on their roster, for their payroll right now. They better do something good.
Yeah, the expectations are going to be high there for the next 10 years. Well, Rich, we agreed that the Dodgers have the best starting rotation in baseball heading into the 2021 season. I'll let you take the lead now, and you give me your number two, then I'll give you my number two.
Yeah, my number two, and it's not just because they're wearing brown, okay? It's the San Diego Padres, okay? And if with the acquisitions that they've made coming in this year, they were the big splash over the winter. They were the ones that were making the trades. They were the ones that were signing guys. And they're bringing guys in, and now you're talking about they have two guys out of the five that were actually with the team last year. Okay. Dinelson Lamet and Chris Paddock are the two guys coming back, but they got Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove. And, the great thing is those guys are locked up for a couple of years, all of them, right? Except, and you got to love it. And then Paddock and Lamet are still under team control for a few years. Oh, and then, by the way, come next year, they've got a great problem to have because they've got Mike Clevenger coming back from Tommy John surgery. So they're going to have a similar problem to what the Dodgers have now, but they're going to have it next year when Clevenger's healthy and he's ready to go. But you can't look at that. Those guys have security. Okay, they're with the team. Every one of those guys is with the team for at least 2 more years, most of them for 3 or 4, and they're going to be good for a long, long time. The only thing that's going to hold the San Diego Padres pitching staff back is if you've got a sniper in left field who's taking them out, because those guys are going to come out and they're going to pitch, and every series between the Padres and the Dodgers is going to be absolutely electrifying because of the two pitching staffs that are available.
Well, I guess great minds think alike, at least so far, because I also have the San Diego Padres as number 2. Yeah, it's just kind of, I know the word unprecedented has been used too much in the world in general, but it is kind of unprecedented what the Padres did with their pitching staff this offseason. I mean, after a pretty good year already, they were looking pretty solid, but then you go out and get 3 big time names and Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove, like you just mentioned, Rich. And
Yep.
yeah, I just really think sky's the limit for that group. And who knows about Blake Snell? I know a lot's been said about this too, but different organization, different manager, different philosophy, and hopefully, and this isn't anything against Kevin Cash, because I think Cash does an excellent job in Tampa Bay, but hopefully in some situations, maybe Snell's allowed to pitch a little bit deeper into some games. I mean, he is the former American League Cy Young Award winner, so he's shown what he can do. He has great stuff. And then obviously Yu Darvish, most notably in his time with Texas, but also coming off a great 2020 season in Chicago. I think Yu still has a few really good years left in the tank. And Joe Musgrove, I think he's kind of gone under the radar because, spending time, especially in Pittsburgh. I feel like really not a lot of people have paid attention to anything the Pittsburgh Pirates have done for the last few years, but he's actually been probably their most consistent starter. He goes out and he gives that team a chance to win. Now, I know it didn't work out a lot of that time for the Pirates, but he's a good serviceable arm that I think is really going to help San Diego. And then, of course, you have Paddock and Nielsen Lamet. I mean, Lamet was on a roll in 2020. It was unfortunate the timing of his injury. He was basically forced to shut it down and call it a season, like end of September, early October. And that could be a byproduct of the fact that it was such a weird year in the terms of the 4.5-month layoff. I mean, we saw pitchers going down like flies, like we'd never seen before once the season in 2020 finally did get going. So, I mean, I'm glad Lamet didn't need serious surgery and he's going to be back. And hoping for Mike Clevenger come 2022, because I know San Diego fans were really disappointed that that's how it ended up working out. They get him in the trade and he throws 12, 13 innings. He goes down in the playoffs against the Dodgers and that's it basically. But he'll be back. But even without Clevenger, San Diego, man, that's going to be a team to be feared, both on the pitch. I know we're looking at the pitching side, but that lineup's going to be dangerous as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also you look at what the Padres have. The Padres made trades and they traded away a bunch of prospects to get some of these guys, but they still have their big guns as far as their farm system goes. They've still got the best pitching prospect in baseball, Mackenzie Gore. They've still got Morejon. They've still got Weathers. They've got these young guys who are going to be coming up over the next couple of years. Next year, the San Diego Padres starting rotation is going to look like the log jam that is the Dodgers rotation now. So these two teams are just loaded for the next few years, and they are just going to be going at each other all the time. This is way better than any of the Yankees-Dodgers kind of rivalries that they had for the World Series every year, because these two teams being in the same division every year, they're playing each other 20 times. It's going to be absolutely amazing to see it.
Yeah, and right there, I mean, less than 2 hours away from each other, just a short drive up the highway. It's looking like fans are going to be allowed in stadiums in California to start the season, which is a good thing. I think it's going to add to that rivalry. And I know the Dodgers did end up sweeping the Padres in the division series in October, but it's going to be a little different, I think, once you consider the arms that the Padres have added. So
yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be no cakewalk for either side. I expect a lot of fun battles between LA and San Diego.
I got the MLB package just to watch those two teams play. If I only watch 20 games all year, that's going to be those games. I'm going to watch every one of those because it's going to be amazing. Now, I told you earlier today. All right, here's the thing. When you talk pitching, you talk rotations. Okay, the top two are pretty easy. After that, it gets pretty tough. No, this is not a Reno Aces hat. This is a Albuquerque Dukes hat. I'm going old school, baby. Okay, back when Tommy Lozardo wore the yellow uniforms to manage.
That's right.
All right, but to get back to what we're doing. All right, number 3, who could it be? All right, for me, I had to look at several teams, and none of them could even match what the Dodgers and Padres bring. So you had to look at the overall. And for me, I had to look at the overall talent of a rotation. And talent can be top end, and then the bottom end is iffy, or it can be just quality guys. Maybe not have aces, but have quality guys all through the rotation. And the one I like going in is probably the Washington Nationals. All right. You cannot have Max Scherzer, who's in a contract year. All right. He's going for his last big contract. Then Steven Strasburg, who's back and healthy, looking good. Patrick Corbin, a guy who could be an ace in about 20 different teams, who's their number 3, right? And then your number 4 is John Lester. All right. Now, I realized, 2 of those guys are pushing into the late 30s now with Lester and Scherzer. But Lester, as a number 4 starter, is a whole different dimension. He's always been a 1 or 2 wherever he's been. But now they're counting on him to be the number 4. So think of the matchups he's going to be having. All right. He's not going to be pitching against Yu Darvish or Walker Buehler anymore. He's going to be pitching, against the Aaron Savali's of the world. So that's going to be a totally different matchup for him. Plus, he's in there with a team that has a lot of offense to offer. 2 superstars on offense that are going to be able to go out there and provide, real support for the team. So I look for them to do that. The number 5 spot in the rotation, okay, Joe Ross is coming back from injury. We'll see what he's got. And then after that, they've got a nice collection of young guys that can walk in there with, Voth, and they've got Fuentes coming up in the minors. That's why that you've got the minor league system for the Nationals is always ranked so low, simply because just about all of their top prospects are starting pitchers. And that's the funny part. They get ranked really low because they don't have a lot of position players to balance out the system. And those ratings are all about overall, balance on a system like that. But the Nationals have a tremendous. They traded 3 different of their prospects, starting pitching prospects this winter to get guys, and they've still their top 12 prospects, I think it is, are all starting pitchers. So they're going to have the horses to run in there and get that 5th spot going. So overall talent, top end talent for this rotation, the Washington Nationals are my pick for number 3.
It's hard to argue with that. And just a little sneak peek, I am going to be talking about the Washington Nationals soon, so I'll save my thoughts for them. But in my 3 spot, I'm going with the team that just narrowly, heartbreaking for their fans still, came so close to winning the pennant in 2020. That's the Atlanta Braves. Ooh. And when you consider what the Braves did, it was pretty remarkable, considering the arms in that rotation that they were missing. They had guys filling in, had some spot starters that really did a great job all throughout the playoffs and did far more than what was ever asked of them or that anyone could have imagined. But things are looking much brighter for Atlanta heading into 2020. And at some point, it will be Mike Soroka headlining that rotation. But, he's going to take a little while to come back from that injury he suffered last season. So, to start the year, it's going to be Max Fried, you think they're going to go with at the number 1 spot. And then Ian Anderson, followed by a couple of guys that they signed in the offseason. Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton's a guy you want on the mound come October, plain and simple. Look what he's done for the Astros, for the Rays. That guy's a big game pitcher, and I sense some big moments in him for Atlanta coming up. Let's just leave it at that. And Drew Smyly, kind of a guy who's bounced around, maybe a bit of an underrated name, but he could be solid, serve as a good lefty in that rotation. In the 5th spot, at least to start the year, with Soroka out, right now I have it pegged as a battle between Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson. Now, not many had heard of Bryce Wilson, even though he was a solid prospect, before he took the mound in Game 4 of the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers, and he just shoved. It was 1 hit in 6 innings. Edwin Rios got him for a home run, but that was it. And he outpitched Clayton Kershaw. The Braves won that game 10-2, and they went up 3-1 in the NLCS. So Bryce Wilson, another big game. And also, a guy like Ian Anderson. Not many people knew about him before he made his big league debut, but big prospect, high strikeout numbers, and that guy came in and he threw gas. And I think Anderson was fun to watch as well.
I can tell you right now, plenty of people knew who Ian Anderson was because on my fantasy teams, I kept trying to trade for him last year and nobody would give him up. So that was before he got brought up. So, yeah, I considered the Braves, but it was Smiley's presence and it was how fast Soroka's going to come back. Soroka's looking good so far in spring training as far as dealing with that Achilles injury and the surgery involved there. But Smiley's the wild card in there. I was baffled when they signed Drew Smyly. Either they know something nobody else knows in Major League Baseball, or they're just rolling the dice hoping that Soroka comes back and then they can, shuffle Smyly off to the bullpen or something like that. But yeah, that it was that uncertainty with Smiley because he hasn't had a good season 3-4 years maybe. It's been a while since he's gone out there and put out a real quality season for anybody. He's dealt with both poor performance and injury, so it's going to be tough for him to come through and be a tough competitor for a team that's going to be fighting with the Mets and the Phillies and the Marlins. I mean, that whole division is loaded for bear at this point. So you got to wonder, is he going to have it every night to be able to go out there and do it? They're going to need 30 starts out of him, and they're going to need some quality starts. They're going to need at least 18 quality starts out of him for him to be worth the time and the money that they put into him.
Yeah, and it has been tough for Smiley when you consider he started out pretty good in Tampa, but then bounced around a bit. Had Tommy John surgery, came back. They tried him as a starter. A couple different organizations tried him as a reliever, and it really wasn't working out. I believe he was in San Francisco for 2020, but you don't know. Get a full spring training, bounce back. The jury's still out. He could come back, but also another point about Ian Anderson. He went from being at the alternate training site with the loss of the minor league season to pitching in some big games. I mean, he started Game 7 of the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers in October. And really, I think he was a victim of some of the defensive positioning, the shifts that you see kind of changing baseball nowadays. And the fact that the Braves had a 2-0 lead in the third inning, he was 1 out away from getting out of a jam with a couple guys on base. And Will Smith hits a ground ball up the middle, and they have 3 infielders on the left side of second, shifting because I think he's going to pull the ball, but it goes right where the second baseman, Ozzie Albies, would normally play. And it's a 2-run single. So, I mean, I know the fans may think, okay, he gave a big hit in Game 7. He's not ready for the moment. But I think that's just one of those things where that's baseball. Sometimes the defensive positioning gets the best of you as a pitcher and as a team, and it's something you can learn from. But overall, Ian Anderson did an outstanding job in the postseason, as well as Mike Soroka, even A.J. Minter. What a story he was. Minter had never started a game in his professional career, and he comes in Game 5 of the NLCS and strikes out 7 in 3 innings. That was
or a guy we both I got a good look at when he was with the Colorado Rockies, Tyler Matzik.
For sure.
Matzik came in and did really well. It was good to see him do well last year.
Yeah, it was just good because I think it was really a sad story all around how he was such a good up-and-coming pitching prospect at the beginning of last decade with the Colorado Rockies, and simply put, he just got the yips. He just stopped being able to throw strikes, and it was tough for a guy with that much talent. And he had went home. He had gone to play in independent ball. It looked like his career was done. It was on the fritz, but the Braves gave him a chance, and he came back and was a fireballer out of that bullpen for Atlanta from the left side, and really got some big outs for them. So just a great comeback story.
Yep. All right, let's go to number 4. Who do you got at number 4?
Number 4, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because you already addressed a lot of it, Rich, and that's the Washington Nationals. And yeah, I agree. The World Series champions from a couple of years ago. You still got those horses at the top: Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin. Really, I'd put those guys up against anyone, even though we're ranking them number 4. And you go out and sign John Lester, still a proven winner, still a proven competitor. He's going to bring the fire, the passion, even though he might not have the stuff that he once did. Lester's just going to be a good clubhouse guy, and he's going to take the mound and give your team a chance to win ball games. And as you mentioned, Joe Ross coming off injury. Ross has had some good moments too, and still what is overall a young career. I know he's maybe getting up there in age a little bit, but Ross still a guy that can be solid at the back end of that Nationals rotation. So the future is bright in DC. I'm thinking they're going to rebound from what was a tough 2020 season overall, and it starts with the pitching staff there for the Nats.
Couldn't agree more. I think they're going to be very, very competitive. And that's not going to be an easy division. And when you've got veterans like that, you've got veterans 1, 2, 3, 4 every night. I mean, those guys are going to take the ball every night as long as they're healthy, and you know what you're going to get from them. And I mean, that's a rare commodity that a lot of teams just don't get to see. So having that kind of quality, at the top of your rotation is amazing. All right, my number 4 team might be a bit of a surprise for the top rotation. Okay, my number 4 rotation is at one of these rotations that doesn't have an ace, but they've got a bunch of good guys, and they're good players that come in every night. My number 4 is the Oakland A's. Okay, they walk in there and they've got some guys, maybe not that would be there for other teams, but they work for the A's. And this team is, again, I don't know what they do in Oakland, man. They run the Rule 5 draft, and they go out and they take these guys that are DFA'd, and they bring in these guys and they sprinkle the pixie dust and they plant the magic beans, and they're competitive every year. And it's because of this rotation that they have there. Chris Bassett is a veteran that had been around a while. This guy's taken the ball and really pitched well the last couple of seasons. The guy is really, really tough from the right side. And he's going into his last year arbitration, which is a big chunk of money when you talk about it. So he's pitching for his third arbitration season coming up next year. Okay. And the guy's 32 and he's going into his last year of arbitration. So, you got to know this is a late bloomer. This is a typical Oakland A's guy. But his ERA was sub-3 last year, and he showed no signs in spring training of looking any different. So Bassett looks tough. You got the young kid, Jesus Lozardo, who big fanfare in 2019 when he came up because he was the man who's coming off of a shoulder surgery and came in late in the season, started pitching some relief for them, and was really, really tough. Had it, then he came around second time around the league last year, got beat up a little bit, which is going to happen, but he's back sharp again in spring training. And what a lot of people don't know is that Luzardo has a mentor on that team, and he almost lost his mentor this winter. His mentor is the relief pitcher Yusmeiro Petit, and apparently Luzardo's like this guy's shadow. He's like mini me to Petit, and Petit has really worked with him on his presence, on his mental part of the game. And Luzardo's also looking tough so far when it comes to the spring training. Okay, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas. They brought back Mike Fiers as their fifth starter. They've got a lot of these guys. Again, none of them are world beaters. None of them are the guys you think of that are going to be top 10, starting pitcher or anything like that. But you take that, you got a quality shot every night that you go out there for those guys. Fiers is really underrated. He had some rough years when he was with Houston and Detroit before. Since he's been in Oakland, he's been pitching. His ERA's been under 4. He's been winning games, and he's, the real cool monkey tail, mustache and beard was really awesome. So, that would get him on my list no matter what. But every night you've got a quality shot at going out there. And what I like is that this team is pretty much tailor-made to that Oakland Coliseum. Twice as much foul territory in the Oakland Coliseum as you'll get anywhere else. That's good for anywhere from 1 to 3 outs a night when it comes down to it, because you've got a bunch of pitchers that are fly ball pitchers. They want the ball in the air in Oakland because it's not a short porch anywhere, and you've got all that foul territory. Plus, you've got Gold Glovers at the corners. All right, so all you need is your shortstop, who's Elvis Andrus now in Oakland. All you need is your shortstop and second baseman to make the plays they should make, and you're going to get great plays on the corners. And that's how they've done it. That's how they built this team, top to bottom. I think the Oakland A's have a rotation that's as tough as anybody.
Yeah, and you mentioned Oakland, just a place I think where guys go to play baseball. A lot of times it's guys maybe catching on for second shot at their end of careers. I mean, look at position players like Tommy La Stella and Lamb coming over in September and coming up with some big hits, helping the A's reach the playoffs. So there's not a lot of stardom expected, especially when you consider the state of the ballpark they play in. They've been looking at a new stadium for years. So guys just go in there and grind. They try to get after it. And same can be said for that pitching staff. And, I agree with all the choices you put on there, the Bassets, the Montas, the Fiers. Those guys are going to go out and compete and give you a chance to win. So I like your choice in Oakland. So we're 4 down now. You ready for the 5th spot?
With me, it's a coin toss between two teams. And the only reason that it keeps coming up heads is because of the difference makers that I have in veteran players. All right. My number 5 rotation has to be the Minnesota Twins. I love these guys. Again, you're talking about an aceless staff. They don't have the big guy at the top of the rotation. But what they do have are Barrios, Michael Pineda, Kenta Maeda, who had a fantastic year last year coming over from the Dodgers. All right. And then they signed Jay Happ, who you might not think that's a big deal, but Jay Happ in the number 4 slot works. he's not going to be out there matching up with these top tier starters that you have. He's going to be pitching against some other guys that are down around there. And for the Twins, he can be productive. And in that fifth spot, you're going to have a collection of guys. They signed Matt Shoemaker. They've got Smeltzer, the young kid, and they've also got Dobnak, who came in and did very well. So between those three guys, you're going to be able to not only cover the fifth spot in the rotation, but you can get the spot starts or the filling in for the injuries that you got from other ones, for the other guys that you have in there. But those four veterans, I think, collectively, they make a really tough rotation. And Kenta Maeda, if he has another great year like he did last year, another sub-3 ERA, who's pitching really tough. The guy just pounds the strike zone with all of his stuff, and he lays it in there and he says, hit it if you can. And he's, more often than not, he's very successful. And that Minnesota Twins team is built around taking runs away from people as much as they are scoring runs. Their defensive schemes, you're talking about one of the teams that shifts the most. You're talking about one of the teams that analyzes, what their pitchers do the most. Again, they just throw those guys out there every day. They collect, they've got a good collection of guys, and man, they are right there competitive every day. So that's my number 5 rotation.
And to add to that, I think you make a good point, because you think about April and May in Minnesota, and sometimes the weather's less than ideal to play baseball, but just think about what an advantage that could play into the pitcher's hands, like Maeda and Happ, even if they give up some fly balls. I mean, the chances are that the ball's not going to be carrying if it's 26 degrees and snowing. So if you got a good rotation and some veteran guys, they know how to pitch in any weather, especially in the cold. I think they're going to use it to their advantage and get a lot of outs and keep those ERAs down early in the season. And that'll bode well for the hot summer months, give them a little more room for error.
Who you got at number 5?
Well, I'm also going with a team from the American League Central, but a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead with the Chicago White Sox. And what an interesting couple of off seasons the White Sox have had. They basically have gone from rebuilding for 10 years seemingly to, okay, the future is now and we want to win. And coming off a playoff appearance, which was their first in 12 years, I think that's really good. They go out and they get Lance Lynn. And Lynn, a guy who's been around and really done a good job for Texas. I mean, I know he might not have the best numbers in the world, but he goes out there and he battles. I think it's something like 33, 34 straight starts he's had where he's thrown over 100 pitches. And this is the year 2020, 2021 we're talking about. You don't see that very often anymore. But you get him, and Lynn's going to be the number 3 starter because he's behind Lucas Giolito and Dallas Keuchel. Now, Giolito, what a turnaround to his career he had. He was the worst pitcher in baseball in 2018. You look at his numbers, he was just getting crushed left and right. But he goes and works with his old mentor, Ethan Katz, who, as it turns out, is now going to be the White Sox pitching coach for the 2021 season after previously being Giolito's high school pitching coach. I just love that. You got to love the way baseball works, right? So Giolito already really coming off a strong season in which he, threw a no-hitter, became the ace of that rotation. So sky's the limit for him. And Dallas Keuchel, who pitched well, had a couple rocky starts here and there, especially in the playoffs for the White Sox. But I think Keuchel's still a good number 2 guy. Then after Lance Lynn, you got Dylan Cease and Carlos Rodon, both who struggle with their control at times. But that's going to be the thing for those two at the back end of the rotation. I think control this spring, and things can turn around for them. And it's kind of similar to Minnesota. That team is built on saving runs, even though they have a good lineup too, and they got the good rotation to really make a run there in Chicago.
Well, I struggled picking number 5 on this one because there's another team that I'm going to give an honorable mention, and they may well be the number 3, number 2 rotation someday in Major League Baseball, because that's the Florida Marlins. Or excuse me, I'm old. The Miami Marlins. Sorry. All right, I'm used to calling them the Florida Marlins.
Me too.
All right. Yeah, but you look at Sixto Sanchez, highly regarded prospect coming up. You've got Alcantara, you've got Hernandez, you got Pablo Lopez, and their number 5 guy is a guy we got to see a little bit here in our home state of New Mexico, Trevor Rogers, who is a big, lanky left-hander who really brings it. I read the other day he's throwing almost 97 miles an hour, averaging with his fastball. All right, and he's already got wipeout breaking stuff. He's got one of the most wicked sliders you're ever going to find. And there's a lot of people looking at him because he had like a 6.1 ERA last year because he gave up a few home runs. But he also pitched 28 innings and struck out 39 major league batters. So, they're looking pretty good. And if that's not enough, they've got Edward Cabrera, who's a top 100 prospect waiting in the wings. He's also competing for the number 5 rotation spot. That's a team you may very well see with a 6-man rotation by the end of the year. With all those young guys in that rotation, they all get starts and they all go there and nobody gets worn out. The next few years, you got to watch out for the Marlins rotation.
That's hard to argue with your pick there. The Marlins, they're a team that I've praised a lot coming off what was really just a very dangerous and scary COVID outbreak. No one knew if the season was going to continue after that happened, or maybe the season was going to have to continue without the Marlins. But hey, give them credit. Don Mattingly and his coaching staff went out and they just found players, whatever unorthodox methods they had to use, and they put it together. And they ended up reaching the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. And I know their perfect postseason series record, unfortunately, finally had to come to an end. But hey, let's hope it's a little different from in the past when, the Marlins, the previous 2 times they won the World Series and then traded everything they had away. They sold the farm. And I hope they can build because small market success equals more fun, I think, in the game of baseball as a whole.
For sure. I mean, being 2 guys that we spent a lot of time around minor league ballparks, and we know the allure of that type of atmosphere. So when you go to a smaller market, when you see these smaller market teams to be able to go in there, like the Oakland A's, like some of these other squads, it's just so much more fun. Like Tampa, the Rays being in the World Series last year was just a treat for me because they're a team that you just cannot define in a conventional way. They don't do anything conventionally. Yeah, the 3 balls, 4, 3 strikes and 4 balls, 3 outs to an inning. They play 9 innings. Other than that, the Rays don't do it like anybody else. And it's really important to watch these smaller market teams go out and be successful. And I know the Rays are a team that you wanted to talk about tonight. I've got plenty to say about them as well. So let's take it up. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays and see what they've got coming.
Well, great point, Rich, because I know spring training has started, but I also really enjoyed the 2020 season, especially the postseason, a lot more than I thought I would because, hey, it was a year that we didn't think we were going to get any baseball. And then we got it, and it was a lot of fun, and it was therapeutic every night for 3 months. And over the past week, I was actually rewatching the Rays ALCS against the Houston Astros, and just a terrific thrill for them. I mean, they go up 3-0 and they lose 3 straight. Everybody's like, oh no, this is going to be awful. This is going to be the Yankees 3-0 collapse all over again. Even worse, you're letting a team that a lot of people think are the villains now, Houston Astros, come back and win. But the Rays pull a rabbit out of their hat. They come back and they win Game 7 behind Randy Arozarena and Charlie Morton. And yeah, I just thought it was phenomenal for them to get to win the pennant. And I was thinking about a lot of guys on that team this offseason, and really offensive production is going to have to be more of a focus now that you've lost Blake Snell and Charlie Morton, a couple of those horses that you're going to need to be scoring a little more. And I think that starts with Austin Meadows, a guy who the season before this past one, just what a phenomenal year he had after coming over from Pittsburgh in the American League Rookie of the Year voting, over 30 home runs. He was a masher. And then the 2020 season was just a down one for him. The weird circumstances, he just was not really ready, it seemed like. It seemed like his timing was off from watching him early in the season. He struggled to hit 200. Did have a couple nice moments, couple home runs in the postseason, but felt like it was too little too late for him to salvage his 2020 season.
Yeah, but he's like he is the epitome of a Rays player. He absolutely is. The Rays are geared. They run their entire organization around contesting every out, every at bat to the max that they can. And Austin Meadows is a guy like that because they put him in such a position that he's going to be the most successful every night. Last year he didn't, he may not have produced as much, and like you said, he did seem off. Comparing him, 2019 to 2020, he was off. But, I've been saying this over and over again, is that for the 2020 season, the circumstances that you had and everything that happened with it, number one, you cannot get too low on the lows. You can't get too low on the bad performances. And number two, you cannot get too high on the good performances. If Trevor Bauer being, example. Yeah, 1.73 ERA. Sure, it was for 11 starts, and he was cheating, but still, you look at that, and then you look at Austin Meadows, who had a rough time, hit the low 200s and just didn't really bring it every night. I'm not going to get too down on him because he's done it before. And now you're back with, a close to a regular season that you can expect and more back into the regular rhythm. I look for guys like Meadows to be really good. Then you go down the line on that team. Brandon Lau, I think, is a guy that everybody needs to watch, because if you look at his numbers from last year, he was a 40 and 100 guy. Look at 40 homers, 100 RBIs, and he was on his way. If he just didn't have enough of a season to put it together. So he's been derailed by health a little bit before, but man, Brandon Lau is going to be really, really tough. He's going to be fun to watch, and then you just go all around that team, because none of those guys, hardly any of those guys are going to play every night. Like Willie Adames is going to be out there every night, and after that, we'll see. Kiermaier is going to play most nights. Yeah. He's going to play most nights, but they still sit him now that Manuel Margot is there. They've got a right-handed alternative in center field. So they're going to be moving him around. And Kevin Cash, you talk about a guy who is geared exactly for that system. And people are going to criticize him because of the the decision in Game 6 with Blake Snell. But what I look at is that in 2018, the Rays won 90 games in the American League East. And in 2019, they go out and they win 96. Okay, and then last year they were 40 and 20 in 60 games. Okay, that's what I look at. That's what I think about Kevin Cash. All right, they won 2 playoff series and they went to the World Series. They took the best team in baseball to 6 games. All right, and one decision looks like it may have kept them away from going to 7 games. So that's where I see the Rays. I see them shifting, and I see them manipulating the rules for the rosters. And trust me, there's nobody who is aware of how many minor league options guys have than Kevin Neander, who is the GM for the Tampa Bay Rays. All right. And if anybody wants to argue with me about how, the Rays are bad for baseball or anything like that, okay, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and the Astros all needed to restart their organizations. Okay. What team did they go to get the executives to do it? The Tampa Bay Rays. Okay. That's why. And that's why you're seeing those teams turn around.
Yeah, that's a great point. You just consider the Rays every year, little by little, keep getting better and better. And I really like the unconventional method. You don't have to have a big-time star, a big-time masher. I mean, who knows? Randy Arozarena could turn into that based on what he did in October. That was a lot of fun. But really just going back, watching that ALCS again, just reminds you of how hard those guys play, and they're willing to go all out. I think the Astros, in the first couple games of that ALCS, they hit something like 24 balls or maybe 30 balls or something with an expected batting average of over 350. I think they only got hits on 6 or 7 of them because the Rays were all over that baseball field at Petco Park making plays. You had Kiermaier in center, who can cover anything. You got Wendell at third, just tremendous. He can pick the ball, come in, do it all. And of course, Ji-Man Choi at first base. I mean, how many errors did he save with doing those splits? He became a sensation. He's a great defensive first baseman. Adames at short. It's fun to watch balls put in play hit against the Tampa Bay Rays because anyone out there is going to go on and give their full effort and try to make a play based on either defensive positioning. It really doesn't matter to guys. Kevin Cash has his guys playing hard every day, and that's what makes Tampa Bay so fun to watch. And, I know they lost a couple pieces, but things are going to be good. Maybe, focus on that defense, and also hitting is a higher emphasis, but there are some boppers in that lineup too. Arozarena, talked about Meadows, Ji-Man Choi, and also Mike Zunino. And a big emphasis on the when he makes contact, he can hit the ball a long way, as we saw against the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. They put Zunino out there primarily for the defense and the handling of the pitchers. But when it comes down to it, they also factor in, okay, who does he hit? Who does he hit well against? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of teams that he does, but for Zunino, a good performance against a team is he's hitting 240 and he's hitting home runs. because the guy has some power, but Yandy Diaz is in there. You're looking all over that lineup that you got guys that, they're the type of team that'll have 8 guys hit 15 home runs rather than 2 guys hit 40. And that's really how the Tampa Bay Rays are built. But those 15 home runs are going to come because those guys were put in a position to where they were the absolute best possible, a chance of success. They play those percentages so well, and there's a lot of people that don't like watching them because they're a superstarless team. Without Blake Snell, they don't have a superstar in that team anymore. All right, but the great part is you have no idea who's going to be the guy to come through next. Phillips was the guy who came in and had the big blow for them in the playoffs last year. Great, who knew who this kid was? But he came out and did it. All right, and it's just another story from anonymity that you're always going to get with the Tampa Bay Rays. So people are telling me this year that, the Yankees are back, they're going to take it. Toronto's really tough and everything like that. But I'm telling everybody, until the Rays give me reason to doubt them, I am not betting against them at all. I expect them to be right in the middle of everything, right there, nose to nose with the Rays and with the Yankees and the Jays, and battling it out for at least a wild card spot.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with there. Just if they keep doing their thing and not let the success of 2020 get to them, not let it get in their heads, and especially know they're gonna have to go out there and compete. You lose 2 starting pitchers, and you got a really good improved team in the Toronto Blue Jays in the AL East. They're going to have to go out there, go to battle every night. But I'll take Kevin Cash over a lot of guys, and yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch those Rays play some baseball again.
Going to be a good time, and I'm an older fella, and I'm not supposed to like all this newfangled stuff and everything. I'm supposed to be the guy that complains about it. I watch this innovation that's going on in baseball with a lot of things now, and I look at it with fascination, utter fascination, because, ultimately, I was a player. I played college ball, and I enjoyed it when I had it. But once I got out of there, I didn't stop learning about the game. I kept watching the game, and I was around people that were teaching and innovating, and the Rays are all about that. They are definitely all about that. Well, we're just about out of time on our show tonight, so we got to go to a segment that's called Last Hacks. We're taking our last hacks here tonight, and we're going to leave you with with some final thoughts that we've got for tonight. Joe, why don't you lead off? You've got some very definite final thoughts tonight.
Well, yeah, it's just as I mentioned in the outset, how lucky we are to have baseball back, and the hopes that we are going to get a full season in, and I think it's great that fans are going to be allowed back in stadiums, and hopefully it can be done safe and COVID good protocols and everything, and keep all that stuff in order, because that's the number one priority, as it should be for the world right now. But also, I'm really looking forward to getting minor league baseball back. I know there's been a lot of changes to the structure as a whole, which I think we can hopefully get into in a later episode. Don't want to bore our viewers too much here, but there are going to be a lot of changes to minor league baseball. But the most important thing is it's going to be back. And, the AAA season was pushed back about a month, from early April to early May. But we're looking at start dates of either May 4th or May 6th, around that first week of May, for basically all the minor leagues now. And basically all I have to say about it is, no matter what the leagues are, no matter what the affiliations are, no matter, who the players are, how different it's going to be from the old minor league structure, fact of the matter is that minor league fans are going to be able to attend games in their hometowns once again after a year off. And that's going to be a great thing for people who have been tired of being cooped up at home or just doing the same thing each and every day. You're going to get a chance to go to the ballpark and get a hot dog and a cold beer. And I think that's the most important thing, because the bottom line is baseball is going to be back in a lot of these small communities. And, after the pandemic, I think it's going to be a really welcome sight. And yeah, as excited I am for the major league season to start, I think I'm a little more excited for the minor league season to get going again. So I think it'll be good to get into the whole new structure, maybe more the new business model at a later date. But for now, that's what's keeping me smiling, is that these communities who have, supported their teams for years and years and decades on decades, they're going to get MILB back. And I think it could be a good renaissance after, losing out on last season.
I couldn't agree with you more. Minor league baseball is a creature all of its own. You can't go to a major league ballpark and then go to a minor league ballpark and see the same things, because the minor league teams, the franchises, they're more creative, they're more innovative. Minor league baseball is just such a great field to be around, and I encourage folks, even if you're in a major league market, there's a minor league team somewhere near you. Go see a minor league game.
Absolutely.
Go out there. It's more affordable. It's more accessible. When it comes down to it, that you have things there, and you just see things in the minor leagues that you won't ever see. Like me seeing Wellington Castillo hit 2 home runs over the scoreboard in left center field
I was
one
at that
night,
game.
and then not even be the star of the evening. That was the great part. But you see just some great stuff in minor league ball. Good last hack, Joe. Excellent. My last hack, I have got to reach out to a group of people that really need it in baseball these days. All right. Not only did they have a rough season like everybody else last year, they've had several rough seasons dating back to 2015, and it doesn't look any good for them to move forward. All right. That is the Pittsburgh Pirates fans. Pittsburgh Pirates fans, I reach out to you. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I really do. I'm a baseball junkie. This is what we call we here on a hardball life. That's what we live. All right. We don't play fantasy football. We don't think we'll watch a basketball game every now and then, and we're wondering if Bill Russell's still playing or something. But we are definitely all about the baseball, and I feel for the Pittsburgh Pirates because their ownership has been kind of jumbled, not deciding what they want to do, kind of going for some free agents and then kind of going for some player development. And in a small market where you can't pay everybody, that's just, death. That's guaranteed mediocrity at least. All right. So now you've got Ben Cherington in there. It looks like he knows what he wants to do. It looks like he wants to build that minor league system, which is great. He added a lot of talent to it with the trades of Musgrove and Jamison Tyon, some other guys. He's been able to do that. Unfortunately, you're going to have to look at some rough times with the major league product. I feel it. I totally feel it, right? But the thing to look forward to, you don't have to worry about, whether this guy's coming in, he's gonna earn his $30 million every year. Okay, those are headaches that other fans have that you're not going to have to worry about. With the Pittsburgh Pirates fans, you get to go back to the roots of baseball. It used to be that everybody had a great minor league system because that was the only way you developed anybody. Okay, this is what you've got now. You have that ability to look back and watch these guys, these young guys, come through the minor league system. Brian Hayes is just like the maybe the first step in that, in the Cherington era to be able to come up. I mean, Cherington didn't get him, but Brian Hayes is a kid who's going to come in and he's going to play really well. And then you look at the roots that kid has. Charlie Hayes is his dad. Charlie Hayes playing for the Yankees, playing for the Phillies. I mean, Charlie Hayes was a good player. And now it looks like Brian Hayes is going to be even better. And you've got that legacy, okay? You've got the Pittsburgh legacy that the Pirates have been good, and have been in the National League for, decades and decades and decades. Now you get a new chapter. And hopefully they get to it and they stick to the one thing. That's the one thing that I think everybody should push for in Pittsburgh. Don't push for free agents. Don't push for sign this guy or trade for this guy. Push for the fact that the minor league system is what it's all about, and that's going to be our bread and butter. Those 6 years that we get when those guys come out of the minors to play for us, we got the 6-year window with every last one of them, and that's what I think Pittsburgh should be looking forward to. As a baseball fan, I love to watch teams rebuild. I really, really do. That's how I became a Tampa Bay Rays fan for a long while. Watch them rebuild and do things differently. Watch out for Boston or for Pittsburgh doing the same thing. They're going to be relying on these young guys coming in, all right, and going there. So Pirates fans, I feel it. I understand. You're going to have some raw years, but the kids are coming. They've got to focus now, and I think it's going to come. And I think it's going to be a great thing that happens when Pittsburgh starts winning again, when Pittsburgh starts, to get up there and be competitive and finally getting back into the playoffs and going, because the success that they're trying to build there doesn't depend upon who's available. It doesn't depend upon anything other than the fact that you're developing talent. And it's going to be a long road to get there, but Pirates fans, I'm with you every beat of the way because I love to see the team rebuild, and especially a team with the history that the Pirates have. All right, that's it tonight. That's it for A Hardball Life. I'm Rich Daniels. This is Joe Traub. Joe, send us off, my man.
Well, let's all look forward to a great 2021 as, spring training continues to go on. It's going to be a great first month and hopefully a great 8 months of baseball here. And let's hope it's uninterrupted and safe for the most part.
For sure. Look for us next weekend. We're going to be on at 8 o'clock Eastern at 7 Central right here on the All Sports, All Plays Network. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace at the field, so time for laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.